I'm Wendell.
And I'm Patrick.
And
This is
Yes,
But Why?
Podcast. That's the opener.
Perfect, yeah.
Oh, Liam, it's nice to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too. I feel like did I see you? You know, I was at South by Southwest 7 years ago. Did
Yep.
I see you then?
Yep. Yeah, you did.
Okay.
That was the last time I saw you. Because I was trying to think of that too. I was like, there's no way that the last time I saw him was in 2007. That would be crazy.
Well, you know, I kept trying to reach you on your Brooklyn number because you used to have like a phone in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I just thought it would. Sometimes when I text people, I'll just say something incredibly filthy. And so I just kept texting these filthy things to you.
Great.
And then I called, and a woman answered, and she immediately hung up on me. And then I was like, oh, Amy's really angry at me. I guess I misjudged like how cool she was with incredibly filthy things out of the blue.
Oh, God.
Which I'm realizing more and more most people are not cool with that.
No.
To one degree or another. But
I mean, I would have been fine
with
with
a new
it.
text number.
Yeah, no. And I think we reconnected once Facebook really became a thing. Because it wasn't really a thing when we were first pals. I was telling Patrick that I first met you at the Surf Reality party, the last night at Surf Reality. That was, I recall, when that was our first meeting.
Good night to be at Surf Reality.
Yeah, it was the first night I've ever interacted with the Art Stars, and it was the last night of Surf Reality ever, and that's when I met everybody. That was 2002.
No, was it 2002?
I think so.
I was trying to remember because I dated my favorite ex-girlfriend, one of my favorites, I should say. Jesus, that'll get you in trouble. But one of my favorites, I dated her that year, and I was trying to remember how long ago that was. I guess I've known her for 15 years now.
I do improv now, so accepting that things have a limited shelf life are kind of my new life. It's like, that was a great show. No one will ever see it again. So,
you know, it's really. I used to have, my friends were in this really great improv group called The Swarm, and now actually they're here in LA too, but I haven't gone to see them here. But I would go see them in New York regularly, and I was just kind of like, you know, I could basically steal all their improv ideas and write an SNL packet, and no one would ever know.
yeah,
Those guys wouldn't remember.
They definitely wouldn't. That's actually part of the improv thing, is to have a etch-a-sketch of a brain where as soon as you finish a scene, you're like, oh, I'm done now. That's it. So it is pretty funny to try to remember that kind of stuff. I've had people go, have you ever used improv to write sketch? And I was like, I really can't, because as soon as I finish a scene, I have no idea what just happened.
Just forget about it,
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do that a lot with life as well, and my husband gets very upset.
Now, do you do long form, like the Maud or the Harold or something like that? The Herald, I think, is the UCB term or it's the Del Close term for the format of long form. We don't do the format of Herald, but we do long form. Okay. I teach and perform at the New Movement Theater. That's the one you had sent me an email about to try to get going, trying to do some shows. You said you might do a tour. Did you end up doing that tour? I didn't end up seeing you in Austin. You know, it's funny, I'm waiting to hear about maybe a venue in Salt Lake City.
Yowza.
And the thing is, once I get one venue that's 100% for sure, then I feel like I can plan a tour around it. That's what I used to do when I booked European tours, was I would just get one confirmation from a good venue that paid all right, and then I would be able to kind of plan the rest of my tour around it. So, and I've got, my friends have a little venue in Las Vegas, and they were just like, yeah, just let us know when you're ready, and it's yours. So between those two, as soon as I hear about the Salt Lake City one, maybe I'll be able to start
planning like a little indie tour.
Yeah, absolutely. The theater the New Movement where I do most of my shows has 2 locations, like I mentioned, one in Austin and one in New Orleans. And in New Orleans, we're kind of the only thing around. Mm-hmm. So lots of interesting people have done stand-up shows there because they'll go, I want to go to New Orleans, and then it's either like they're going to do like 40,000 people in the stadium, or they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this smaller house, but it's definitely not 4,000. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say it's probably like
40,000 people in a stadium.
Listen,
is the math wrong? Or
listen,
is it
I don't
just,
understand sports, Liam. Is that how many people are in a stadium?
No, I mean, you can get like 100,000 in a stadium. I'm just imagining like Louis C.K. being like, well, I want to do a stadium tour, but when I get to New Orleans, I don't know. I wanted to lay back a little bit.
Well, I don't know that. Well, I feel like Louis C.K. has done. I don't know. He did a small event. Didn't he do? He did the Moody Theater here in Austin, and that's only a couple hundred, isn't it?
And then he crashed the Velveeta room.
Yeah, after his he did like a book show here. And then right after he finished his show, went and crashed an open mic, and the people at that open mic that night were like, "Oh my God!" Wow. It was all over Facebook. I was like, "Oh well, he's a guy, so he needs to do comedy. He wants to try some stuff out."
Every single open micer in Austin now has open for Louis C.K. on their resume.
1,000%, Liam. 1,000%. I can't explain to you how many people have that on their Facebook.
He wasn't the last one to perform either, so
no, he
some
wasn't.
Poor schmuck was behind him, and trying his new.
Yeah, but who's gonna know?
Yeah, it's true. No, I just meant that poor person having to go afterwards and just bombing after Louis did, I don't know, 40 minutes or something.
Dude, at the comic strip in New York, they've always had auditions for comedians during the regular Monday night show. And I had a friend who had to follow Chris Rock at his audition for the club.
Oh my God.
And it's such a ruthless business, he did not get past it. He didn't even get a call back to try again. It was just like, nope, you're not ready. And it's like,
wow.
Well, maybe he's just not ready to follow Chris Rock.
Right. Yeah.
Like most nights at the strip, you're going to follow Joe Bolster. You're not going to follow Chris Rock.
Right? You're like, there's a guy holding some newspapers. He's going to, he's the guy you're going to follow. You're going to relax. Yeah.
Right.
In fact, I was thinking back to when I first started hanging out in the crowd with you in New York City, thinking about what a wild crowd that was to start in. Is the Art Stars in that crowd, was that where you first started comedy, or had you been doing comedy before and then just also went to the O'Debra open mics and Rev Jen's Anti-Slam and all that?
No, it was actually Face Boys open mic, which was the Anything Goes open mic at Surf Reality, was my first open mic. I followed a woman who pulled down her panties and scooped menstrual blood out of herself and painted a picture of a dick with it and did poetry about dicks.
That seems exactly right.
Wow.
And, and the rule at that mic and at the other mics you mentioned was you're not allowed to, heckle the other performers. You're not allowed to heckle the audience. And so I was like, I guess I'm not allowed to talk about what we all just saw. But, it was a mic where just that kind of thing happened, and everyone was just, at that point, high, had been smoking weed and drinking all night. So it's not, it's not like I could bomb at that point because, because everyone was just so fucked up. It was, it was a very good, comfortable, what's funny is I just found, I guess someone sold pictures of a Reverend Jen book release party at the Bowery Poetry Club, which is where the O'Debra twins had their open mic, to Getty Images.
What?
So it just popped up in my Google search. And I was like, not only do I not remember being there, but I'm pretty sure I apologized to Jen for not being able to make it.
You didn't find yourself in the pictures, did you?
I did. That's the thing. My name popped up. And I was like, oh, that was, all right.
Yeah.
Oh my
But
God.
that's what that scene was like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely remember. I worked the door at Rev Gen when it went to Cake Shop. When after Collective Unconscious closed, I ended up working the door over at Cake Shop, that one across the street, which Lord knows if it's even still open.
No, it closed this. You know, that's kind of when I pulled back from that Art Star scene.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to the Odebra's open mic because Moonshine was bartending, so he would usually forget to charge me, or Sibeli was charging it, or Sibeli was bartending, and she would, you know, give me a good deal or something like that. So I would go like to hang and get drunk, but I wouldn't go so much to like perform as much as I did. You know, I felt like once Surf Reality closed, I felt like that was a good time for me to kind of bookend my career as a professional open micer. You know?
Yeah.
But you know, because I started there, and it really was my home away from home for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, also I just never liked Cake Shop. The ceiling, it was just a sweaty, uncomfortable, like physically uncomfortable. And the other, I don't know. I mean, there were a lot of very nice people at Reverend Jen's open mic, but there were a lot of like dudes that would just kind of scare women away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was very weird there.
It was very weird, and so it just when there isn't a good mix of men and women, it makes me I don't have as much fun, you know?
Yeah. Like
I feel like in a lot of things, in comedy and a lot of things, like if there isn't a good mix, then it's just not a good vibe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hear that. When you decided to stop being a quote professional open micer, how did you first get it going that you started booking shows and moving on to the next level of that? How did you move forward?
That's a very good question. I started my own. I ended up starting my own show a few years later,
right?
And that helped a lot. The first one I did was at a bar that was on First Avenue and First. I forget the name of it, but it was. That's where it was, and I did that with a friend who I was. You still there?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I turned my phone off for a second. I was doing that with a friend that I was dating, and so that ended badly on many levels.
Sure.
And then my friend Amber Tozer had been running a show at a bar in the basement called the Lolita Bar, and it was set up for a little show. And I was like, you know what? Instead, because the thing was, I was doing a lot of shows, and at that time, like even if I wasn't getting paid, I'd be very uptight about trying new material at booked shows, just because I was afraid, like, you know, if you bomb with something new, then you're never going to get invited back.
Yeah.
So I was just in a little bit of a rut for a while, where I wasn't doing any new material, and so I wasn't progressing. So I kind of had a progression where I did a show on VH1 called Best Week Ever,
right?
And then right after that ended, I started my show at the Lolita Bar called Tell Your Friends, and that was a place where I could go up and try new material all the time, and kind of just work on getting better as a comedian without worrying about like the booker, you know, banning me for bombing horribly with some new idea.
Yeah. Man, what year was that you started Tell Your Friends?
I believe that was 2005.
Right on. Interesting. Right on, and that went on for a while, huh? That show was
still
like
going on. I'm doing.
I saw that you were doing it in LA, but I wasn't like when you were in New York. Did you take a hiatus when you left New York and moved to LA to get it started, or did you like just as soon as you moved kick it off again? I wondered if there was a hiatus.
Well, what happened was, and this is why I saw you at South by Southwest 7 years ago, was I made a concert film,